This video, we're going to be taking a first look at the all-new Retroid Pocket Nova. And I'll tell you the truth, when this was announced, I didn't really get excited about it. I didn't do much research on it. I just saw another retro handheld hitting the market. Yeah, I mean, we definitely get them all the time. But after receiving the Nova and messing around with it for the last couple days, I'm really impressed by what they've done here. And that's not to say that Retroid hasn't made some really banger handhelds in the past. It just looks like Retroid has actually taken everything good from their other handhelds and everything they've learned over the past few years and put it over here in the Nova. This thing is pretty awesome when it comes to input latency, screen, aspect ratio, battery life, and even performance here. Basically, Retroid has created a super pocketable OLED retro handheld with a 4:3 aspect ratio display that's going to run all of your favorite GameCube, Wii, and PS2 games, and even beyond that. Taking a look at the new Nova along with the Retroid Pocket 6 and the Retroid Pocket Flip, you can see that it is a bit of a smaller handheld and it really comes down to the screen, but they didn't compromise here because we've still got an absolutely beautiful 120Hz OLED display in this thing. And just using the built-in Android color display settings, you can really dial this thing in to get it to look exactly how you want. We've also got some programmable RGB around those analog sticks, and speaking of those, they are Hall-based along with the triggers around back. We've also got front-facing stereo speakers here. Moving around to the back side of the unit, not much going on here, but we do have some ventilation for the built-in cooling system, which is also fully adjustable from software. Up top here, we've got our shoulder buttons and our Hall-based triggers, power button, volume rocker, our exhaust vent for the built-in cooling system, plus 2 extra programmable M keys up top. Moving around to the bottom of the unit, micro SD card slot. We've got a 3.5mm audio jack and our USB Type-C, which will support syncing to a PC, charging, and we can do video out. So you can set this up with a large external display if you wanted. So again, I have to mention it, I wasn't that excited when I heard about the Nova for the first time until it showed up, pulled it out of the box, and started using it. I personally love the form factor here, and yeah, having a big screen is really nice, but when you're working with a system like this that's mainly for retro games, having that 4:3 aspect ratio display comes in really handy, so you don't have those big black bars on the side and the top when you're running games that ran at a 4:3 aspect ratio. It's a pretty thin unit, so it's going to slide right in your pocket. Those Hall-based triggers here are full linear, so we've got throw if we need it for like racing games. Comes in really handy. Analog sticks feel good. It's on the smaller side when you compare it to larger handhelds out there, but it's not the smallest handheld either. And to give you an idea, here's my Galaxy S26 Ultra. It's about the same form factor. I usually have a pretty thick case on this thing anyway. As you can see, that Retroid is a bit thicker, and we kind of expected it. It really comes down to those triggers around back. And if you're used to something like the Retroid Pocket 6, there's not a huge difference here. Obviously, the 6 is a bit longer, and it's because we've got a larger 16:9 aspect ratio display on that thing. And when it comes to the overall specs on the new Nova, this is powered by the Qualcomm QCS8550, which is basically the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 minus a 5G modem. This was built for IoT devices by Qualcomm, and it's configured in a way where we have one larger prime core up to 3.2 GHz, 4 gold cores up to 2.8, and 3 silver cores up to 2 GHz. We've got the Adreno 740 GPU. You can get this with either 8 or 12 gigabytes of RAM. Both of them will contain 128 gigabytes of UFS 3.1 internal storage, but they all support a micro SD card. It's got a 120Hz 4.5-inch AMOLED display with a resolution of 1280 by 960, again a 4:3 aspect ratio, 5000 mAh battery with 27 watt fast charging, Wi-Fi 7, Bluetooth 5.3, and out of the box it's running Android 13. Retroid is offering this in several different color variants. You can go with black. I've got the 16-bit here. There's a GC, which definitely resembles the GameCube. Crystal clear, watermelon clear, clear purple, or ice blue. I personally love that GameCube variant. I think it looks really good. And when it comes to pricing, they've got 2 versions. 8 gigs of RAM and 128 gigabytes of storage, or 12 gigs of RAM and 128 gigabytes of storage. The lower end model, $229, the higher end model, $269. So not horrible, but it would have been nice to see these prices before the inflation on RAM and storage. At the end of the day, this is an Android-powered device. It's got the Play Store pre-installed, or you can opt not to have it up and running. It's really up to you. But this thing's going to run anything over on the Play Store as long as you can get it side-loaded or downloaded. I'm running Drift Racer X right now, maxed out at 60 FPS. That's as high as we can go with it. It doesn't have an extra setting to go up to 90. Screen looks good here. Controls are perfect for drifting with this thing, and the sound is awesome. Since we've got those front-firing stereo speakers, it just comes right at you. So given the chipset we have here, in performance mode, with the fan mode set to smart, Genshin Impact, you can do high at 60 FPS. Call of Duty Mobile, 90 FPS, ultra settings. PUBG Mobile, have to drop that down to high from that ultra, 90 FPS. And even Fortnite at high settings, 90 FPS. Or if you want to go up to Epic, you'll have to drop it back down to 60. So yeah, there's no doubt when it comes to native Android gaming, this thing's got you covered across the board. And Android games do scale quite nicely to a 4:3 aspect ratio. But the main reason somebody's going to pick one of these up is for emulation, and when it comes to the lower end stuff, it's got more than enough power. Input latency also feels very nice here. I'm just running this using the VBA Next core inside of RetroArch, no extra settings, and of course, this is easier. It's Game Boy Advance, and you can see we've got a little black bar on the top and bottom. That's because Game Boy Advance was a 3:2 aspect ratio. We're at 4:3 here with this display. But I'm going to call it full screen. It's not bugging me at all, and it looks great on this OLED screen. Moving over to one of my favorite handhelds of all time, PSP. I've got some Gran Turismo going here using the PPSSPP emulator. We're at 1080p, which is over the resolution of this display, and we could go even higher with PSP games. As long as the game's compatible, it's going to run. But with the PSP, it was a 16:9 aspect ratio. So we've still got those bars on the top and bottom, and there are ways to scale this, but personally, I like leaving it just like it is. Now, one area that I think this thing really shines in is GameCube, Wii, and PS2 emulation. With the CPU they opted to use here, which is basically the same thing as the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2, we can upscale our GameCube games and Wii games using the Dolphin emulator. Even something like Rogue Squadron 2 upscaled to 720p on this display here is running at full speed. You can go up even further with easier to run games. Here's Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4. I'm at 1080p with this, and again, it's still over the built-in resolution, but if you wanted to run this on an external monitor, it'll actually do up to 4K 60, or you can do 2K 120Hz over USB Type-C. 4:3 or 16:9 aspect ratio. I also wanted to test out some Wii here, so here's Tatsunoko versus Capcom, and while I'm here, we can mess around with this D-pad, and it seems to be the same D-pad that they've been using for a little while now, which works out great. It feels like it's using the dome switches, but one thing I've said in the past about their D-pads is it feels a bit small. Now, it works great. It's just the overall feel of the D-pad itself, the outer edges. Some games, I like to play from the outer edge of the D-pad, and most of the time with this, that's what I'd be doing. But there are a few games here and there where I play from the inner side, but this one feels a bit small to do it as accurately as we can with some others. You can get used to this for sure, and it works great like it is. I just kind of wish there was a bit more material to work with here. I did go through and test some more games. I went with 2 more GameCube, 2 Wii games, and across the board, we were seeing amazing performance at 3x resolution, which is 1080p. Wind Waker only runs at 30. We're running at full speed there, at least the GameCube version. F-Zero GX, even on the harder tracks at full speed. Sonic Colors and Galaxy 2, all at 3x 60 FPS. I also wanted to test out some PS2 emulation. I'm using the Nether SX2 emulator with the Vulkan backend. We're at 2x resolution with this one, and on GameCube, this is just a harder one to emulate, especially on ARM. It can be done, but it kind of fluctuates. It's a little all over the place. But the PS2 version is working great on the Nova, along with something like Tekken 5. Now, both of the games that we saw running on screen were only at 2x resolution. I really wasn't sure if we'd be able to take it up anymore, but sure enough, we can actually take most of this stuff up to a 3x resolution. Not every single game ran really well at 3x, so I had to drop one down to 2, but it's definitely a harder one to emulate. Devil May Cry 2, 3x 60 FPS, Okami 60, God of War 2, which is definitely a harder one to emulate, ran great at a 3x resolution. But Shadow of the Colossus, which if you do any kind of emulation, you know, it's a harder one to run, especially on an Android device. I had to take it down to 2x because at 3 we had some fluctuations. There's a mod that would allow you to run this at 60, but I wanted to keep it right there at 30 and it ran great. So yeah, I mean, I've been having a lot of fun with the Nova, and there was a couple more emulators that I tested here. It's really hard to show them off because of everything going on with emulation right now. But when it comes to like 3DS using Azahar, this thing is a ripper with the Vulkan back end. DOA dimensions, 3x resolution, 60 FPS. Triple Deluxe, 3x 60. Sun only ran at 30, but we could take it up to 3x. And even Monster Hunter with the disabled 3DS code goes up to 60 FPS at 3x resolution. I'm digging the form factor and the layout here. I also like the OLED display. A lot of people might want something a bit bigger, even at a 4:3 aspect ratio, but I think this is great for a very pocketable system. And the fact that they added basically the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 is just the cherry on top. As you saw, this thing's going to handle GameCube, Wii, PS2, 3DS. It'll even do Switch if that's something you really want to do. I think Retroid has done a bang-up job with this one, and if you're interested in learning a little more, I will leave links in the description. And if you do end up ordering one, let me know what color you went with in the comments below. Personally, I love the GameCube version, but there might be a lot of people out there that want to go with those clear or those ice colors. It'd be fun to see what everybody chooses. But that's going to wrap it up for my first look at the Retroid Pocket Nova. If you've got any questions, let me know in the comments below. And like always, thanks for watching.